People have been fear-mongering about this stuff for a long time, but for the record, that's not what any of that means. Actually, there's two ways that we can look at it appropriately. And the first is what it actually and literally meant at the time for the person who wrote it and for the people they were writing to. And actually, this beast and the number of the beast and all of that is a very specific reference to the Emperor Nero in the Roman Empire. The Emperor Nero was famous for persecuting Christians, and so churches were undergoing persecution under him. He was also worshipped as a god, and there were issues with them trying to, well, let me backtrack. One of the ways that as a Roman citizen that you would prove your loyalty to the emperor is to worship the emperor. And so Christians refused to do that. And so they were being persecuted over that. And in some cases, forced to worship the emperor. And the number 666, I don't recall, I should have looked it up before this, but I don't recall exactly how that represents Nero, but it does. You can Google it. There's a way they figure that out. And so, yeah, it's a specific reference to Emperor Nero. It also brings to mind something else that you might never have heard about, and that is something called a phylactery or phylacteries. Phylacteries were little tiny boxes, like little tiny boxes. And certain devout Jews used to write passages of scripture on little pieces of paper, roll them up and put them in those boxes called phylacteries. And then they would tie that box either to their head, to their forehead, or they would tie it around their wrist or their hand so that the box would rest on the back of their hand. This idea of the mark of the beast going on the forehead or the hand is kind of very reminiscent of that. And for the readers of this letter at the time, they would have immediately thought of that. And so this is like the anti-phylactery. But here's something else it would have made people think of at the time as well, which is Roman coinage, because Roman coinage was always imprinted with the likeness and or name of the emperor. So during the reign of Nero, Roman coinage would have had Nero's likeness and Nero's name on it. And so the coins which you hold in your hand, you must have the mark on there in order to pay for goods and services, right? In order to buy and sell. This is what it means. It was a specific reference to that. And it's not something that we can apply or that applies in a specific way to anything going on today. Now, in a general way, it applies because that beast, the Emperor Nero himself, represents corrupt, tyrannical, abusive political power and how harmful that can be. And that is definitely something that we still have and deal with today. That is definitely something that still applies to today. And all throughout history, all throughout the end times.